with us Lauren Currie, who's director of an organisation called We Are Snook. Now, I haven't met Lauren before, but I know about Snook because they won the Young Scot Award for Enterprise in 2012. Lauren is the co-founder of Snook, and people know her as Redjotter, is that right? Redjotter. It's the organisation itself, and Lauren in particular, are trailblazing, inspiring, they're innovative, and very vocal in advocating giving the service design sector meaning and evidence and impact. Because at the end of the day, there's no point in using digital technology if it doesn't have an impact. Snook itself brings a track record of creative approaches to empowering individuals and transforming organisational culture. It saves public authorities and other organisations money. Since Snook was set up in 2009, they've been leading service design provision in Scotland, including work with the British Council, the Government, National Health Service, Stirling Council, Edinburgh Council, Barnardo's and the National Endowment for Science, Technology and the Arts, Nesta, STV, Tayside Police, UK Design Council and the SQA. As I said, in 2012, Snook won the Young Scot Award for Enterprise. You can find out more from www.wearesnook.com, but most of all, you're going to find out more from Lauren, and you can follow Lauren at Redjotter. Lauren, can you join us? And can we give Lauren a welcome?
Okay, so good morning everybody. My name is Lauren, and thank you for that kind introduction, Alan. So Mark kindly invited me along here today to talk about my perception of digital. And for me, I want to talk about doing digital differently and what that means, because for me it's all about being human. Because you see, in my mind, the technology is almost the easy bit. It starts to get interesting and complicated when you think about cultures and attitudes and mindsets and society. So to give you a bit of context about why I'm here, so I'm a designer and I design services. So put the two together and you get service design, which is this kind of newfangled discipline which has always been there really, but it's been the past 5 to 10 years it's became a creative discipline. And what it means is it's the design of services, experiences. So I went to art school to study product design. I wanted to be the next female James Dyson that was going to make an object that would transform everyone's life. And then I very quickly realised that it's those same techniques and those same processes that you use to design services. And a service is everything from buying a cup of coffee, to going to your GP, to getting diagnosed with a long-term condition, to paying your council tax. All these things are services, and a service designer makes those services work in the best way possible. So I'm the founder of an organisation called Snook, and Snook are a team of designers based in Glasgow. And our mission, and what we really care about, is rethinking services from the public's point of view, the real people, human perspective. And we work with lots of different organisations to help them really see and feel and believe the potential of technology and what meaningful engagement through technology really looks like. So, my talk today is called Do Digital Different, and as I said, this is, for me, it's about being human, because engagement is about being social, it's about relationships, it's about people. The channel that you're engaging on doesn't matter. And if I'm really honest with you all, I'm actually frustrated that there are so many of us still putting so much time and energy into Facebook pages and have the comms team set up a Twitter account and we have an Instagram feed. You know, I was reading an article yesterday, there was a guy in America wearing glasses designed by Google, and he was Googling through his glasses. And we're still chatting about Facebook pages. You know, it feels to me that there's a lack of imagination happening, and we're all hitting targets, but really missing the point. We need to embrace the potential of this technology to help us transform the way services are delivered. Think about the welfare reform, the personalisation agenda, staff morale, all these things are really important, especially in the third sector right now. We need to be thinking about technology in that space, not about how many Twitter followers do we have. So in my world, that whole notion is labelled as a thing called social innovation. So this was an article that was written in The Guardian when we founded Snook 3 years ago. Social innovation is my motivation. And I guess that's important for me because I want all of you to understand why I believe this work's important, because it makes a difference to people's lives. And it's all about making Scotland better. And I know that's why all of you got into the jobs that you're in. And it's really important that we always keep going back to that purpose and why we're all here in the first place, and not get caught up in barriers and bureaucracy and things that fall in our way. So to give you an insight into what a service designer actually does day to day, my family are still trying to get their heads around it. But the one thing that we do that makes us different is prototype. So prototype is really just a fancy word for testing stuff. But what's interesting for me is when you prototype a service with the people that are going to use the service before you make it real, you're going to save money. You're going to stop shipping things that don't work. You're going to stop having services out there that aren't being used the way they were designed to. And we prototype with the most simplest of tools. We use Lego, we use paper, we use cardboard, and it might sound a bit simplistic, but actually that's why it's so brilliant, because everybody's comfortable, everybody's familiar with it. I mean, this was us working with Skills Development Scotland to really rethink how we could design parents' evenings. And when you do that with the parents, you're coming up with amazing ideas really fast. Prototyping digital services and products is also a tricky thing when a lot of the people you're working with are online. How do you prototype an app with somebody who is not online? Well, you use paper and card, and you get them to design what that app needs to be to fit into their lives. And you can also prototype whole experiences. Let's design a new way for an elderly person to buy their ticket at the railway station. Let's mock it up and have a conversation and pretend it's real. And my vision for this, I want to see a prototyping lab in government. Every time somebody has an idea, they do this. And the idea, you don't need to have a meeting, you don't need to write it up, you don't need to ask for permission, you just test it and make it. And that's when innovation will really start to happen much faster. Again, prototyping with vulnerable people. It's an amazing tool for them to get their ideas out there. This was working with young people who were leaving care, and they had this amazing idea about a digital map. But you make it with them first with paper, and it really helps them bring their idea to life. And you can prototype digital ideas by just mocking them up on a screen. Prototype whole scenarios, kiosks, ATMs, different types of machines. And that's when the truth comes out about how people are going to use them before any money is invested. The second thing that service designers do is visualise and tell stories. So I think stories are a massive part of technology. Technology brings stories to the surface. It sends stories to the people that need to hear them. And visualisation is a way, just a fancy word again for drawing. When you give communities a felt tip and ask them to draw their idea and draw how they feel, it's a whole different dynamic and you get amazing results. And the third thing that we do is co-creation. Call it co-design, co-production, all these buzzwords, but it really just means designing with the people that you are serving. So if you want to co-design a service for people with dementia, how are you going to do that? If you want to co-design a service for every teenager in Scotland, what does that look like? It's a process, and that's what Snook are great at. We bring the right people together at the right time and design this process so that everybody has an equal say, from the CEO to the janitor. Everybody's part of that design process, and it creates the best results. So why are we doing all this? What is the reason for all this work? We want to invert the pyramid, and in my head that means you've got janitors, primary school teachers, nurses, social workers, all these amazing people on the ground, delivering these services day in, day out, living and breathing the problems that are happening. And then you've got people at the top of the tower deciding where money goes, who gets what services get kept, and that's just ridiculous. There's no dialogue between the two. There's no conversation. These guys on the ground are experts, and I think technology is an amazing tool for flattening that pyramid, for making it an equal playing field where everybody has a voice and everybody has a say. And I'm not preaching that design can save the world, because it can, but it is a big part of flattening that pyramid as well. And I wanted to ask you all a question. Hands up if you have a computer at home. Okay. Keep your hands up if the computer you have at home is better than your computer at work. Okay. That's a lot of you. Now, I can see you all at the weekend, you're logging on, you're surfing, you're learning, you're playing, you're sharing, you're downloading, and then you get back to work. And you're constrained by technology at your work. That is insane. It's just utterly bizarre. I meet brilliant IT teams all the time who are really focused on empowering people, but there seems to be this weird control culture in the public sector. Oh, we couldn't possibly let them have a Twitter or a Facebook. You know, I meet chief constables who won't give their officers a Twitter account, but they give them guns. It's like, let's put this in perspective. We have to allow people, allow all of us to be the professionals that we are. Because when you think of all the citizens, all the people you work with, the people that you're here for, out there who are on these channels, when your organisation blocks those channels, you may as well put your fingers in your ears. You're saying to them, I don't care. I'm not listening. You don't matter to me. But I know and you know that they do matter. So we need to work together as one big team to work out how to fix that, because it is about collaboration. And there's this really strange thing happening with people who are technophobes, who are quite proud to be technophobes. Oh, you wouldn't catch me near an iPad. Oh no, I don't know all that Twitter. I'm sorry, but that's like somebody saying to me, I don't know how to read. You know, that's not okay. And it's all of our jobs to step up and say, wait a minute, look at all this stuff you're missing. We need to educate them and inspire them, not just, you know, shrink away and let it be okay, because it's not something to be proud of, and it's not going, this stuff is not going away. It's getting more and more every day. So I think we all need to work together to educate and inspire the technophobes that are out there. And to give you a bit of context as to why I feel I can talk about this stuff, we've been flown to Beijing to present our work to the Chinese government. And I got invited to do that through Twitter, through my Redjotter account. And there are people all over the world who are really excited about what the approach of service design means for digital and digital services. We've been awarded a Google Fellowship. We got flown over to New York to talk to Google about what is digital going to do for Scottish citizens. How is it going to change the way we produce and consume services? And it's part of our work. We host things called social innovation camps. And that's when you get 48 hours, you bring together geeks, developers, business people, designers, charity workers, whatever the topic is. And you literally lock them in a room for 2 days with coffee and pizza, and they get 2 days to build a product using technology that will make a difference. And it's amazing because there's people like you who are full of ideas, teamed up with geeky developers who can make things in 50 seconds flat, and by the end of the 2 days you've got amazing products. And we also host idea incubators, and that's about taking an idea that's on the back of a napkin and taking it through the design process really fast, so that by the end of that you've got a prototype and you've got a business plan and you've got a really strong idea. And we host design camps to enable organisations to really engage the public in the process. This was a recent one that we hosted with the Commonwealth Games. And yeah, as Alan said, we won the Young Scot Award for Enterprise, which we're really proud of, but for me it's a symbol of the public sector really starting to embrace creativity and innovation in this new approach of solving problems. So I'd like to bust some myths before we go any further. So I know this is what you're all thinking, some of you. Aye, well, that's fine, but what age is she? And this is all for the youngins. Not true. The biggest uptake in all these tools is the older generation. Older people are using these tools to have their voice heard in a way that they've never done before. They're making connections, they're forming communities, and they're using these tools. Aye, but you can't beat a good face-to-face. Can you beat it? Correct. You can't beat it. And what we need to remember is that all these tools lead to face-to-face discussions, lead to face-to-face meetings. But what the tools do is lead to having face-to-faces with people who you would never normally be able to reach. These tools are not about replacing us, they're about making us even better. I think a really good way to think about it is books. You know, when we all bought our computers, we didn't chuck out all our books. We all still cherish books and buy books, and that's part of living in the present. You know, you don't need to let go of the past. So I think it's really important to realise that it's not about one or the other, because they're both the same thing. And all the rest of them, so don't have time, my boss won't let me, it's going to cost too much money, I've heard, all the excuses imaginable. And you know, they are real, but they're all surmountable. You know, they're all free from the start, and the thing about time, you know, it just becomes part of your DNA, it becomes part of your daily routine. Think of how we all send text messages. You know, when they were designed, they were like, well, nobody's going to stand in the pipe. You know, and now we're all texting each other under the table while we're sleeping in the shower. You know, it's just part of our day, we just do it. So, please come and talk to me throughout the day about what in your mind is the blockage, because I really believe there are answers to them all. And all that stuff combined kind of brings us to the conclusion that the internet is a city. I think it was Stephen Fry that first said this, and I think it's really clever. You know, you think of London or Edinburgh, and it's full of amazing museums, educational institutions, parks, everything you can think of. It's a place to live and work and play and learn, but there are also dodgy bits. There's red light districts, there's places you don't go or you'll get stabbed. You know, that doesn't mean that we close the city down. It just means that we learn to navigate that city, and we learn how to survive and what that means. And the internet's the same. Just because some of it's unsafe or unknown doesn't mean you can pretend it's not there. You just need to figure out how it works. So what's important for me that this day achieves is to change your perception of what social media actually is. Because thanks to our media, there's this weird thing that people still think it's people sending stupid, silly messages to each other. I just had such a great chat in Scotland, here's a picture. Lol. You know. It's not about that. You know, social media is connecting people in a way that you can't even fathom. You know, the Occupy Wall Street movement, the stuff that's happening around the referendum, people that are saving each other in this weather purely because of social media. And these tools are irrelevant. It would be a full-time job for me to keep up with all these, and there's new ones coming out every day. In 5 years we'll be a new Facebook. You know, these are not what it's about. It's about what you do with the tools. And a great example of that is this new product called Patchwork. So Patchwork is from an organisation down south called FutureGov, who do amazing work with local authorities. And they were really inspired by the Baby P case. And they created Patchwork that uses social technology to bring all the different agencies round about the family or the child in crisis. And it's working, it's causing early intervention, it's getting better outcomes for families. And this is where our heads should be at. How can we use technology to make our services work for the people we care about better? And to give you an insight of a project that Snook have created, working with working with communities. Get Go Glasgow was all about working with the people in Wynford to help them create their own social enterprise. So, you know, Wynford is the 8th most deprived area in Scotland. They don't give a shit about technology, to be honest, and they don't care what design is. You know, they've got bigger issues on their mind, and it was a massive struggle for us to gain their trust. So we really want to just understand what it's like to live here. What's it like to be here? If you were in charge, what would you do? Here's a pen, draw me your future. You know, when you start to engage with people in this really meaningful way, at lots of different levels of the community, you start to see a really rich picture of what their life is like. And technology is a really big part of it. You know, people will not turn up to community groups, focus groups, questionnaires, survey monkeys. They don't work. For a lot of people, they don't work. So you need to redesign how you connect with people. And that's a big part of design for me. You know, you climb inside somebody's head and you get to think about what makes them tick, and you design ways to talk to them. We trained the residents up on how to use social media so that they could tell their own story. You know, it takes 5 minutes to show somebody how to set up a YouTube account and they're away. It's free, it's there, it's working. And all the while we were doing this, you know, there's amazing potential projects popping up. You know, all the neighbours that are really irritated that the football pitch needs dug up, so they meet up on a Sunday and fix it. You know, stuff about society. This is it, this is happening. And technology is such a big part of it. And we brought all the people together at the end and invited the councillor to show them that the film that the community had made. And the councillor's jaw hit the floor. And he said, we have been pouring millions into trying to solve these problems. And I'm not saying we had the answers, but we showed it, we showed the reality, we showed it from the real human perspective of that community. And My Police is another project. It's actually a digital service that Snook created that's now out there running on its own. And that all started because the police are really hard to talk to. Now, I don't want to phone up, I don't want to write a letter, I don't want to have to go and chat to a big 6-foot burly guy in the street. I want to talk to them where I feel safe and where I live and play and work and do my stuff, and that's online. So we created this service called mypolice.org, which you can all go and have a wee look at. And mypolice.org is all about sending stories. Now, stories could be a thank you, a complaint, I don't understand why this is this way, I want to ask a question about this. And our technology sends that story directly to your local officer, and you start having a one-to-one, very open, transparent conversation with your local officer. So we piloted it for 3 months in Tayside Police, and we made BBC News because the stories, it was quite dull about parking, but it showed that the police were saying, you know, we didn't know that these stories were out there, we didn't know this was an issue. And the reason My Police works is because it's neutral, and that's why Snook's approach works so well, is because we're not the government, we're not social workers, we're not doctors, we're designers, we have no agenda, we're just there to listen. And I think platforms like My Police, we've got Patient Opinion, an equivalent for the NHS, Fix My Street, Write to My MP, there's amazing examples out there of people changing how you engage with the state. A project we just finished with Sir Peter Houston and his team at the strategy unit around the post-16 learner journey. So we were challenged with redesigning that journey and really understanding what it looks like for young people. So, you know, I get to go and hang out in high schools for a month, so that was fun. And really make friends with these people and understand what the journey feels like and looks like. And the first thing that we discovered was there's actually nowhere, nothing exists that I can look at and see all my options. So that was the first thing we did. We made this map, and there's a digital equivalent of that. And that's an example of technology being an enabler and empowering people to make better decisions. Another service that I think you'll all be excited about, because it's very focused on young people and employability, is called The Matter. So The Matter is all about helping young people who are out of a job, not at school, how get them the skills they need to get a job. So the way it works is, an organisation like Youth Link Scotland come along and say, I want to know how young people feel about knife crime, or I want to know what young girls in Edinburgh think about the teenage pregnancy rate in Dundee. You know, questions that young people know the answers to because they're living it, and questions that all of us can't get our heads around. So the young people form a micro-enterprise. They go out, they do lots of research, which is design-led, so it's focused on solutions and optimism and positivity. And they bring it all back together and put it in a newspaper and sell the newspaper back to Youth Link Scotland. And it all works through a digital platform. But there is a newspaper which is a very physical, traditional output, so it's offline and online, making the best service. And this was our pilot with the City of Edinburgh. These were our 5 young people, and it's changed their future. They're saying things like, you know, I thought I was going to be in benefits, and now I can really see how I can make a difference. So if you want to know more about the matter, grab me throughout the day, because we're looking for people to ask questions, and we're looking for young people to work with, and it's an amazing initiative. And some other great things that are out there, the UK, the housing associations down south are really making waves on how to use social media to connect with tenants and customers. And I think we can all really learn a lot from how they're doing that. 3D printing, again, such massive potential, I can't actually get my head around it. You can print shoes, you can print stethoscopes, you can print entire houses. What is that going to do to the services you deliver in the next 10 years? We need to be thinking about this stuff. You know, somebody's designed making it like turning children's drawings into sculptures. It's amazing, and it's totally revolutionising the way that young people will learn and how they'll make and how they'll think about objects. So we need to be thinking about how that notion and that change in education will play a part in our services. And the listserv, I put this one up just because it's actually really touched me over the past couple of weeks, because I signed up to it, and the way it works is it's called an email lottery. So you sign up, and there's like a million people signed up, and every day they pick somebody who gets to email all the other million people on the list. If the day comes when I need to send an email, I don't know what I'm going to write about, but the ones that have came through my inbox have just been amazing. You know, it's actually made me stop and be like, wow, you know, somebody from Canada, America, all over the world. Now, what would the equivalent of the listserv for youth work look like? You know, it's that let's be inspired by other sectors and how other people are doing things. NHS are hosting a hack day, amazing, inviting all the geeks that care about health to come together and build new products and services. So if any of you fancy going down to Oxford next week, this is happening. But these are the kind of things that really inspire me. You know, a massive institution like the NHS really getting on board with this stuff. GoBank is a brilliant service that I'm so pleased. Their strapline is, we're going to disrupt banking the way Apple disrupted music. And I think that now is the time for that. And this whole service is done on your smartphone. That's it. You sign checks, put money in, take money out on your phone. Amazing. So I hope that's given you an insight into what doing digital different means for me. And I think it's really time to focus on people. It's time to focus on yourself, your colleagues, your peers, the people that you serve every day, and really think beyond the obvious. Like, let's start imagining the possible, and let's start designing new futures, because the biggest tool that we all have, it's much more powerful than any social media tool we could ever think of, is our attitude and our desire to change things and to make things better. So I wanted to leave you with this question, because I think it's really important that we recognise where we're at on this journey. So that's me, and at Snook I'm trying really hard to baby steps to ferment a revolution in Scotland. So I hope you'll join us and you can all create your own mini revolutions at your work and where you are. Thank you for listening.